quick look from the backseat. See it going by as we're passing streets. Dim lights in a basement dark. Leather jacket and my whiskey, me and I can't find a way to compromise unless I'm looking in your eyes. And I know we're leaving all the rules behind. Welcome to the wild. It's every man for himself. Welcome to the wild and crazy. No one you, no one else.
Of the many designs that motorcycles wear these days, the neo-retro theme is among the popular ones out there. Marrying a simple yet elegant design to a modern chassis and engine results in motorcycles that evoke nostalgia and a certain level of charm. Kawasaki has tasted success in international markets with the Z900RS that's an ode to the original Kawasaki Z1. And now we've got the Kawasaki Z650RS.
Kawasaki wants a bigger share of the modern classic motorcycle pie, and that is why it has launched the Kawasaki Z650RS. Now, this motorcycle is based on Kawasaki's proven 650cc platform, and in a sense, this is the Kawasaki Z650 with a dapper, retro-looking suit. But there's more to this motorcycle than what meets the eye.
But before we go ahead and discover the more than meets the eye part, let's begin with what does, because that's where Kawasaki has done a commendable job.
Perhaps the biggest draw of a retro-style motorcycle is its design, and I think Kawasaki has nailed it with the way the Z650RS looks. This is a breathtakingly beautiful motorcycle.
Almost every element of the design shouts retro, be it in the round LED headlights, the teardrop-shaped fuel tank, and the way it flows to the single-piece seat to the minimal tail section. The twin-pot analog instrument console with a digital LCD readout in between them for fuel, trip and other information is a neat touch. Personally, I'll never tire of seeing a set of needles swoop across the dial from one end to the other.
This emerald green color is possibly one of the best paintworks I've seen on a motorcycle that's made in a factory. This green shade just glistens in the sun. Look at these paint stripes, the way they flow across the tank, and this big Kawasaki logo with this brush finish on it. It all looks very premium. This green shade contrasts beautifully against the gold rims, and these have been designed to mimic the wire spoke rims from motorcycles in your granddad's era. I think on the basis of looks alone, a lot of potential customers will put the money down on this motorcycle.
Yes, the design has a big impact on your senses, and part of the said impact is due to this color. And if the green color isn't your thing, there's an option of the grey and black color combo with orange pinstripes on the wheels that is relatively inconspicuous.
Of course, the Indian RTO mandates that you have a sari guard and grab rails on your motorcycle, and I think Kawasaki has gone over the top with the design of these elements. This grab rail is just too chunky and too wide, and this sari guard is so wide you could probably use it as a barbecue grill. So maybe a sleeker design would have really helped Kawasaki, because at the moment it just really takes away from the looks of the motorcycle when you view it from the rear three-quarter.
Thankfully, these ugly metal add-ons can be easily removed with the help of a set of tools, restoring the looks of the motorcycle at the rear. Also, the offshoot of the modern classic design are the revised ergonomics that are pretty relaxed.
Compared to the Z650, this perch is much more wider, softer and comfortable, and it is the same story for your pillion as well. At the same time, the handlebar isn't too far forward, so you sit in this upright position and sets you in that mood for that lovely cruise down the road. That is something that a lot of the retro motorcycles were quite famous for, weren't they?
The only difference between the said classics and this modern classic Z650RS is that you'll be covering ground at a much faster pace. That's because underneath this delectable design, this motorcycle is a Kawasaki Z650. The chassis, suspension and engine are the same. Except that the subframe isn't as steeply raked as the RS and the engine is said to offer better low and mid-range response.
This engine doesn't sound very characterful at idle, but you take it past 5000 RPM and that's when it sounds sportier. That has happened with the engine moving into BS6 era, and something that we noticed when we rode the Z650 as well. Now, it is a very tractable motor in the city, but at the same time, when you take it out on the highways, there is a solid punch past the 5000 RPM mark. In fact, there's a rapid build-up in pace when you give it the beans, and this motorcycle goes from 0 to 100 in a little over 4 seconds, which is quite quick.
So, there you have it. This is a properly fast motorcycle when you want it to be so, and it can also get into the character of a modern classic motorcycle with its tractable engine. The engine certainly lends itself to the application of the Z650 RS. Another thing to keep an eye out for is fuel range. With a 12-litre fuel tank vis-a-vis the 15-litre tank on the Z650 means you'll have to stop more frequently between fill-ups.
The ride quality is quite decent over most road surfaces, however, the sharp bumps will make their presence felt.
Another matter of concern is the Kawasaki Z650 RS's low ground clearance. At 125 mm, it is lower than the already low Z650, which means that painful sound of metal scraping over tarmac is something you'll have to contend with if you aren't extremely careful.
On the flip side, the handling is quite neutral and predictable, especially given the leverage that this bars offer. You tip it into a corner and it flows very nicely. But the problem is these Dunlop tires are just devoid of feedback once you're leaned quite far out. So once you start pushing, you don't really have faith in the front end, and that robs you of confidence.
Grippier, more feedback-rich rubber will help unlock the potential of the chassis, not only on the Z650 RS but also the Z650 and Ninja 650. On the other hand, the superb Nissin brakes do a fantastic job of hauling the bike to a stop, and their sharp bite and progression is what I liked.
Kawasaki has made a beautiful and a very likable motorcycle, and I think it holds more appeal than the Z650 simply because of the way it looks. To top it all, there is nothing quite like this motorcycle at this price point.
At Rs 6.72 lakh ex-showroom, the Z650 RS costs Rs 48,000 more than the Z650. For those who want value for money, the RS may not seem like the logical choice. After all, the Z650 is the same bike and gets more features, namely a modern TFT display with Bluetooth connectivity. The Z650 RS isn't for those with such a bent of mind. It is for someone who wants a motorcycle that's beautiful to look at, packs a ton of desirability, and is still usable as an everyday motorcycle. It is for these attributes that the RS is the better buy and worth the stretch over the Z650.